Everyone, my name is Tim Rogers. I'm a business instructor at Ozarks Technical College in Springfield, Missouri, and I have been teaching online and, of course, seated classes for about 16 years now. And all that time, I've been teaching online also. So I know that this is a very interesting moment in all of our lives where, just as the presentation says, I was a seated instructor until yesterday. And that really was the situation for us at our college, and I'm sure that's a situation for you. So before I get rolling, if you could just chime in real quickly and tell me what your current situation is. Are you having to transition from seated to online, and what time frame are you doing that in? And if you could just let me know, like what book you're using, for the courses that you are having to transition, and then if you have used Connect before and what you would like to get out of this. And so if there's somebody that just wants to chime in so I could get a kind of a temperature of where we need to go with this.
And I will note, I just tried to unmute folks. We had everyone muted on entry. So if you're able to, you can put your question in chat, or you can go ahead and chime in and share whether you are just now putting your course online, what product you're using, and answer Tim's questions so we can tailor this to your needs.
Okay, anybody at all? Are you able to hear me at least?
Hello, my name is Jackie Peterson. I'm from Northern College in Virginia.
Hi, Jackie. We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Thanks.
Well, I'm on here, and a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, Deloy Simmons, is also on here. The transition from classroom to online effective yesterday. We were just notified on Friday that we would be moving to online. I use the Understanding Business by Nichols, which is my McGraw-Hill publication. I also teach online. I teach international business, leadership development, and management, principles of management online. So I'm used to the Connect in the international business course. However, we're in the middle of the stream trying to move from classroom environment to online. So, trying to make that move, how do we adjust the assignments we have? How are we going to integrate aspects of Connect so that it would be beneficial for students, because they're going to have to learn this as well. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I bring to
So I think I'll go back to mute. I may have to go back to muting all here just because there is a lot of interference. Can you still hear me okay, Tim?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of background noise there, but I did hear the gist of that right there, that you teach international business, you use Connect for that. You're doing Intro to Biz, and you want to see what's available for that one. Absolutely, we can go through that, no problem. Anyone else there on the line that has a different situation than that?
And I'll just encourage you to put it into the chat. I'm seeing a couple of responses come through. Alan at Valencia College has a current online course and just moved to face-to-face classes online. So just wanting to hear some lessons learned from other folks. Alan's using Connect with IntroBiz, 12th edition Nichols. So that's one more response.
Okay.
And then we have another attendee who is starting online on Monday. So pretty quick order here.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, with that, it looks like you, the two or three of you are fairly familiar with Connect, so that helps immensely. So I can kind of focus more on the actual assets that are in the Intro to Biz. It looks like the Nichols book would be the one to focus on here. And so that is totally fine. And so what we've got, as you already know, there are different levels of assignments that exist already in Connect, from just low level on Bloom's taxonomy all the way up to higher level orders of thinking. It just depends on the assignment type. And this chart just kind of shows you that there is a wide array of different levels of assignments, and I'll show you those in person in just a second. So we'll kind of move through this. This screen will briefly show you that there are these mini simulations that exist inside the Understanding Business Connect course. They're called application-based exercises or application-based assignments. And what these really are mini simulations. These mini simulations where a student puts themselves into the shoes of someone that is going through a problem in business and they have to answer. And given their answers, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. It goes in a variety of pathways, and some are more correct than others. And so this is a very good assignment that I'll show you more of in just a second, but I did that we highlighted that one. There is also, you may be using this already, there is introbiz.tv, and this is a website that is made for Introduction to Business at McGraw-Hill, and it's free to use, and so anybody can use this. But if you are looking for like a real quick relative articles that you can use as discussion questions or even for discussion boards, this is a great site to use. This is updated by the authors every week, and they are finding pertinent information and how it plugs in directly into the chapters of the Introduction to Business textbook. And so I strongly encourage you to go to introbiz.tv. You'll see that address down at the bottom of your screen. A very, very good resource here. Something else that before I get into actually showing you some of this, something else that's very pertinent would be going into the library tab of the page and going down to instructor resources. When you click that button right here in the lower left, you're going to see a Connect Content Matrix. And that Connect Content Matrix is actually shown here on the right side of your screen. This will basically show you what is available for each chapter of the textbook that you're using. So if you're using the Nichols-McHugh book, then chapter by chapter, you're going to know which assignments fit and what they are. And so it gives you kind of like an at a glance idea of the assignments that exist, the video cases, the simulations, all of that stuff. So that Connect Content Matrix is an excellent resource. And then beyond that, just getting the resources from your rep, your own local rep, is a very good thing to do. So if you have not been in contact with your rep already, make sure you reach out, because the reps have been given lots of different resources and they're ready to help pretty much with everything you need. So I encourage you to reach out to your rep. This is also my information. If you want to get a hold of me later, if you want to fire off an email to me and say, hey, what do I do with this, or what is available for this chapter, or how do you do this, feel free. I would totally be there to assist you with this, because we're all going through this together, and I am trying to help you as much as I can. So feel free to write down my email and use that if you would like. And with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into the actual Connect course and see what we have here. And so if I bring this up on the screen, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I won't bother with the login portion because you already know how to do that. But I pair my course with Canvas. We use Canvas at our school, used to use Blackboard. I've used a couple other LMSs also. So if you are having any issues, or you want to know more about pairing your LMS with Connect, then please reach out to me, because I can show you how to do that in the matter of no time at all. And so it really helps to have that pairing feature. From the opening page, since we all know, I'll just go ahead and go into one of my classes here. This is one of my master courses that I use to prepare all my other sections of Intro to Biz Nichols-McHugh. In the in the screen itself here, you're going to find that I usually will put in the interactive presentations. When I'm in an online format or in a seated class, these interactive presentations, which I have titled animated lectures, they are available for every single chapter of the textbook. And when you click on these, the students are going to watch a quick, basically it's like an animated slideshow of the material in the textbook. And so in the course of about 20 minutes, a student can walk through these and they can see basically what is in the chapter. And I know that some of these chapters are fairly long and students often get lost when they're reading. This is a great way for those students that do not read very well or those that just cannot comprehend beyond 2 or 3, 4 pages in a row. This is a good animated slideshow. It's not the PowerPoint that the instructors use, but it is a different set of material that walks through the chapter for the student. So it will play, and then when the student is done watching that one, it will then go to the part 2 and part 3, and this is all for chapter 1 right here. So there's about 10 different slides, and each one takes anywhere from roughly maybe 10 or 15 seconds all the way up to a couple minutes. But the students tell me that they really enjoy this. And so if they are just finding themselves lost by the reading alone, then direct them to these interactive presentations. And you'll see on your screen, that's just what they're called. You assign those just like you would a normal assignment. For my classes, normally I didn't make these worth points, especially for my seated classes, because they have to listen to me the whole time. So I didn't want to force them to listen to another lecture just to get points out of that. So I've just made these available to my students for the whole semester, no due dates or anything on them. And so any questions on those interactive presentations?
And I'll just say again, put those into the chat if you have any questions. And just for reference, we do have at least one attendee who's using Feral as well. But we have a lot of similarities among our resources, but just to note that as well.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes, a Feral, very similar resources here. Many of these assignments overlap. So what I'm saying here definitely applies to you. Something else that I'll show you, what I've done here is I have left a spot to put in exams or tests. And so I have built out exams over the 6 modules or the 6 units of the Nichols-McHugh book. And this is where they normally would go. In one of my other courses, if I bring that up here in a minute, you would see all 6 of those in there. But I encourage you to go ahead and use the materials online. I know some of you have exams already that you have been using in seated courses, and it can be cumbersome to try to type in all of those questions into Connect to make your own exams. That's how I did it, and I did this for years by hand typing them all. But now, through the use of Connect into the library, we can also go into Test Builder. So we can export this test. We can build a test and we can create the questions and such. You can add your questions, you can modify questions, you can select from the test bank. And when you do this, you can then export it. You can export it to like a Blackboard file or a Canvas file, and you can import that in to your Canvas class if you want to do it that way. You can also, of course, make print versions of this too. But just by clicking on Create New Test right here, it'll walk you through, and you'll select your chapter and you'll select your questions. You can modify the questions if you want, and then at the end, it'll ask you how you want to save that. And so that is called the Test Builder. And I want you, if you have not seen that already, I definitely want you to take note of that. And this is even very good for you in the future. If you are trying to make printed, you can print these, you can save these like in RTF or doc files, and you can print these too. And that's something that's been extremely handy. And so that is the Test Builder. But I'll go back to where we were here. You can also create these exams inside Connect. So if you want to use them inside Connect, then you would merely click on Add Assignment. Then you would click on Question Bank. And then here's the name, of course, you're going to give it. Let's say you're doing the chapter 1, you click on 1. And here at the bottom, you're going to see on that pop-up window, you would select the test bank right here. And once you select the test bank, then it will give you the entire list of questions, and you can then modify those or filter those out by if you want multiple choice or true false or essay or whatever it might be, just like a normal test. It's all available right here. And then when you're done, that exam will show up in your assignment list. So as soon as you're finished and you click save, you'll see it show up right here in your assignment list. And so that is how you would create a test. Now, some of you are very familiar with that, so I'll just jump into some of these assignments already. And so if we just click, I'll just click on my chapter 1 assignment right here. I usually always do a Learn Smart assignment for every chapter. And so this is true for, Nichols or Farrell. They both have Learn Smart, but you're going to see, like, here's my chapter 1 assignments, chapter 2. I always lead out with a Learn Smart assignment. For those of you that are using Learn Smart, I'd say bravo to that. There have been research studies done. I've done some myself that showed that there is an increase in learning and student performance when students use Learn Smart for an average of about 40 minutes per chapter. And so as you're setting those up, make sure that you kind of drag or add questions to that little progress bar to bring it up to about 40 minutes. Because that's where the sweet spot is, where the students seem to get the most bang for their buck out of these. And so these Learn Smart Smart Book assignments, I encourage you to use those. I'll just pause for a second here, since I have talked about the Smart Book Learn Smart. Is anybody have any questions about those? Are you familiar with them? Do you want to see how to set one up, or any questions before I move through?
So Tim, actually taking a quick step back, there's a question not about SmartBook, but actually the interactive presentations. The question is, do you have to use all of the interactive presentations that are listed for each chapter, or can you pick and choose which sessions are applicable to your course?
Yes, good question. So if we, all we have to do is click on Add Assignment. We'll click on Question Bank, and we'll just go ahead and walk through one here. So let's click on Chapter 1. Actually, these are probably going to be underneath. I probably should have clicked on a different one here. Hold on just a second. And Meredith, by
I know.
chance, are you familiar with where they? There they are. All right, they were at the bottom
There
of
they
the
are. Yeah, I was
list.
going to say at the very bottom. That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say, I don't know
Yeah.
why they put them down there, but I'll just do this slowly because I know it's a little smaller on your screen. But if you click or scroll through the chapters, they house them all at the bottom. And I'm not sure why they did that, but if you click on one, there we go. So if we go up to chapter 1, let's click select, and then it's going to give you the actual pieces. Like, there was like those 8 or 10 different slides. You can select from these if you want. And so you can preview each one of these if you would like, but once it's on there, you can just select them. If we want to select them all, or if you want to take out a couple, there you go. We'd say, add the 6 questions. We'll click on that, and then I don't think we named that, so it's probably going to. There we go. And then you would follow through with the normal assignment creation, where you give it due dates, you give it a name up here, and then you figure out what type of assignment that would be. If it's a practice where, I don't know, worth nothing, I don't know. But whatever your settings are, go ahead and assign that. So if it's going to be homework and you make it worth points, and it will follow your policies for homework. If it's, just for no points, it's probably going to follow all your policies for practice. And so, did that answer the question for you?
And we'll wait a second there. That's great to walk through that, Tim. Thank you. And it's great you can customize and pick and choose which you want to use, which pertains to which learning objective. So I think that answers the question. Oh, yes, we've gotten confirmation. And then, Tim, we have a request to go through this, the setup for a Learn Smart SmartBook assignment, please.
Absolutely. Only take a second. So once again, like with what, pardon me, like with everything else that we have done, you just click on Add Assignment right here. So we click add assignment, and then we'll click Learn Smart because it is a different type of assignment. So we'll click on Learn Smart instead of the question bank. And then here is your screen where it lists all your chapters. So let's say you want to do that chapter 1. Just click the assign button right here. Once you click the assign button, it's going to bring you to a screen that's going to ask you, well, how large of an assignment do you want to make? And here it is. And so this is great because that last question about tailoring the interactive presentation to your class, let's say right off the bat, you look at chapter 1, which I doubt you would do this with chapter 1, honestly, but in different chapters, there may be some information that you really just don't cover, or you think it's too deep for your class. Just go ahead and unclick it. So let's say you're like, you know what, I don't ever want to talk about the business environment. I don't know why you would say that, but let's say you do. If you take out that business environment, it will not give the students any questions pertaining to the business environment. And as you notice right here on your average time, this would take an average student about 40 minutes to complete. But if we were to add that back in, let me click on that and add again. Look at that. It went from 40 minutes to an hour and 21 minutes. So there's a lot of questions in there about the business environment. But like I said before, let's say you're like, forget it, I don't want to do that one. So there you go. Now, once you select which ones you want to leave in, which topics, then take this little bar up here, the little dragger bar, and move it around. And you can then cut it down, which you'll see over on the right. We're talking about a 6-minute average, 10, 11, 12 for the average student. Like I said before, 40 minutes is really probably where you want to be. And so once you get it up to about 40 minutes, go ahead and scroll to the bottom. Right here, put in the number of points. I usually make these worth about 15 points each. So it's enough students want to do them, but it's not so much that if they don't do it, they freak out and think they're going to fail the class. So 15 in my course anyway is a relative sweet spot. These represent roughly, the Learn Smart assignments themselves represent roughly 15% of the overall grade in my class. Now, the other Connect assignments represent about another 10%. So I'm looking at roughly 25 to 28% of my grade comes from these homework assignments. And so that's why I've selected those points, but you'll want to figure out what works for you. Then you click on Assign in the lower right corner. It's going to ask you, same as this other screen that we saw before, about a due date. So let's say you put in a due date of, you know what, we're going to have that chapter, it's going to come due by next Friday. Let's just put it in. So I put in 3/27, and I'll just say it's the end of day. Click Assign down here at the bottom, and it is done. Then it immediately takes you to the screen again. If you wanted to do another chapter and another chapter and another chapter, you do it the exact same way. So once you go through these, it'll take you roughly, I am going to say roughly about 20 seconds per chapter to assign them. They're very fast to assign. If we go back out to our home page up here, the little home button, we will see that assignment. It'll come up in our list. It'll probably drop it down. Well, actually put it at the top. So there it is. That's the one that we just assigned, due on the 27th. So does that help answer your question?
We have a yes.
Hey,
That's
good.
great. Thanks for confirming.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and so just moving quickly here, so we don't get hung up here. There are different video cases, and then there are smaller video cases called I See It videos. Now, what I'll do is a generic explanation. If you see the assignment titled video case, this is the same videos that come with your book. And so some of you will use these in a normal seated class anyway. It's the same ones, like about Grubhub and the other ones. And so when you assign these, the student will be watching a video that's roughly about 8 to 10 minutes long. And then there's usually about 5 or 6 questions that follow these videos. And so if I just click on preview here, you'll probably see what the initial video screen looks like. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
It's talking about Grubhub in the business environment. Now, the student would click play, they'd watch this. It's probably about 8 to 10 minutes long. And then down at the bottom of the screen, they have about, what do we have, five questions that go along with it. You can make those questions worth anything you want. I usually make them worth 1 point each, and that's why it says 1 point right here. So this assignment for them to watch the video and answer the questions is worth 5 points if they get the questions right. And so that would be a video case. Now, there's another video called an I See It video. You may have heard about these before, and these are very small, very short videos that focus on a certain aspect of in the textbook, some content items that have proven more challenging for students to understand. So in this Nichols-McHugh book, for instance, there's roughly about 20 or to 22 different I See It videos. And they're about 1.5 to 2 minutes long each, and they're the type which I can play this for you real fast here, but these are the like hand-drawn type of things. You'll see that on the screen. I know you won't hear the video or the audio, but you can see how these appear. This one is exactly 2 minutes long, and it walks through the explanation of what the business environment is and all the different pieces that go into it: economic, legal, and technology, and global forces. All of that stuff. It will show them basically like a little animated cartoon of it. And I have quizzed my students on these. They really like them because they get right to the point, and they are very short. And so I encourage you to take a look at those videos called I See It videos. There is usually 1, 2, or 3 questions that go along with them. This one has 3 questions. And so this is a way that you can make this video, worth, looks like about 5 points I assign for it. So those are the I See It videos. And as you scroll through, you'll see different topics there, from fiscal policy and monetary policy to business environments. So those are very common assignments that you will see, the video cases. And so I usually will stick with 1 Learn Smart per chapter, about 40 minutes worth. I'll put in a video and maybe an I See It video if there is a particular content that students struggle with. And then sometimes I'll do another normal exercise like a drag and drop, a click and drag. And this is where students have basically hands-on experience with moving like terms or vocabulary words where they belong. And so this is an example of what one looks like. It doesn't take the student very long at all, except they get to interact with this and actually make a decision or make a choice. And so what they're doing is they have to match these all up. And so they read this little thing about Tom Jeffries owns a roofing company, and what part of the business environment is he going to be forced to reckon with this given scenario, and then they'll drag this information to the corresponding boxes. So it gives a chance for the student to actually practice some of this stuff. That is what is called a click and drag or a drag and drop assignment. I usually make those worth anywhere from 3 to 5 points because they really do not take long for them to do. Those are the ones that you will see most often, those assignment types. There are other ones though. So if we, let me pull up another one here. Okay, actually, I'll pull up a different one. There are these mini simulations, and this is the little icon. Application-based assignments is what they're officially called, but I call them mini sims or mini simulations. This one is about entrepreneurship. There are roughly about 12, I think about 14 of these in the Nichols book right now. I don't know if we may not be able to view this one. Let me go back out and I'll have to show you in a different way here what these look like. So let me go to add assignment and then application-based activity right here. I click on that and it'll give me a chance to preview all these. And so as this is pulling up, do we have any questions so far, or is anybody familiar with these mini simulations?
Not on mine. This is the current.
Anything there? I heard some people talking. So any comments about this?
We're getting a couple of no's. I'm not familiar with the mini sims, but very helpful so far and really interested to learn more about the mini sims.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Well, in that case, this is the list that's available for this textbook here. We've got, things such as accounting, culture and trade, economics, entrepreneurship, ethics, whatever it might be. You're going to pick out which one might work well for you. So let's say you want to do one about entrepreneurship. So you click on this one right here. It explains a little bit about what it is. Like after completing this assignment, a student should be able to determine what kinds of businesses are viable to pursue, determine the type of ownership structure for the business, whether it's corporation, partnership, sole proprietor, all of those things right there. It explains what the student's going to do. If we preview this, I'll click on the preview button right there. It's going to pull this up and we can kind of walk through what it will look like. So this is really what it looks like for a student when they pull it up on the screen. So this is called What's Your Bright Idea? And so the student will read through a little bit of background information about this person that's wanting to start a business. And so they'll click on Begin. They'll select their character. So let's say this is me right here. I'll put in Tim and we'll go ahead and play this thing. Up at the top, we have the scorecard. These little pink lines here. We have business type, we have form of ownership, and financing. These are the three categories that the student is going to be scored in. This explains who the characters are. Shelley, Ashley, Dr. Rogers, Dr. Wubinaw. These are the characters. So the student clicks on play, and then on the left side of their screen, it kind of looks like a text message, like on their phone. They'll read through what's happening, and then they have to choose like what they want to do next. So at this point, they're looking at, starting a business is a big deal. Do you recall the three major items upon which a small business should be based? And so based on the textbook, they're going to say, I think that it should be a great interest to the owner. It has customer demand and it's financially feasible. I think it's this one right here. And so they click on it and then they move forward. And as you see up in the scorecard, the student gets points for it. The business type, they answered that question correctly. Therefore, they move along a path that is the correct path. They could have also answered incorrectly and they might have to go back for maybe a different pathway, or it might be a different question that's posed to them on the next round. And so this talks about business, local business type and saturation in their community. And so they look at this activity and they're like, well, I shouldn't do this or I should not do that. I think these are the ones that they need help. And so the student would then click on continue, and they keep reading with their friends or their colleagues until they are posed with another question. And here's the next question. So these take the students roughly, I'm going to say about 20 minutes to complete. They're a little more involved, but they're very good. I had a chance to write a vast majority of these mini simulations myself over the course of the last 2 years. So, personally, I can vouch for them. They're very good, and they really pertain to the textbook too. So I really invite you to take a look at them. I have asked so many students what, their opinions of these, because honestly, at first I thought, man, they're going to hate this. It's going to be way too involved for them, but it's really not. And in fact, out of all the students that I have had take these assignments, I have not received any negative feedback at all. In fact, I've had a couple students actually ask me if there are other ones that they can do on their own, like not even for points. And that's weird, because I usually don't get students that ask that. The only thing that students usually ask if I have any practice exams, because they want to know what the questions might look like. But I've never really had students ask for extra stuff like this. And so that's why I'm trying to tell you, these actually are very good and the students do like them. So definitely take a look at the mini sims. And I know for the sake of time, I won't go through the whole thing and I'll try to stop it right there, but I do want to reiterate, if you have any questions about this, definitely let me know. Reach out to me, email, or do something, and I would be glad to help you with that. And so, any questions on this before I kind of close that out?
Haven't had any questions come through on the mini sims.
Okay, if you want to assign one of these right on your screen, I know this might be small. I know it might be small, but right underneath here, it says assign. So you click on assign, and then it's going to bring you to the screen where you're going to give it a title. You're going to add your own instructions and give it a due date and points right there. You can also change the different number of attempts that they do. So 1, 2, 3, unlimited, whatever it might be. And you can set the attempts where if they take it twice, then they get docked 10 or 20% or 50%, whatever you want it to be. You can set that up. And so just keep that in mind that you might, maybe you're like a one and done, or maybe you're like, you know what, let's let them do it twice. What I normally do is I let them do 3 times, and then I set it up where they're docked 15% immediately on the second attempt. And that discourages most of the students from just going through it once to get all the answers and then trying to go back in. Now, I'm telling you, on a mini simulation, it'd be very difficult to do that, though. It's very hard to cheat on those things because there's so many different branches that the students can go down. But that's how I normally set up a lot of these assignments is I'll give them a couple attempts, 2 or 3, but then they are docked immediately on the second or third rounds, and it keeps getting worse. So they usually try to do their best first attempt. Okay, now I'll kick back out into the home screen here in, well, just a second, if I can back to that. Whoops, there we go.
And Tim, taking a step back, we have a question going back to the I See It videos around the multiple choice questions for students. Are there question options so that students don't receive the same questions?
No.
Looking at, yeah.
Yep. On those assignments, like the video cases and such like that, those questions that go along with it are all static. And so, yes, the students are going to get the same questions. There is a chance that, if a couple of them are together, they are going to cheat. Absolutely, there is a chance of that. And so that's one of those, quandaries of teaching online. That exists with any class is how do you prevent students from cheating, and that's very difficult. That's why I like to supplement some of those assignments with LearnSmart and the mini simulations, these application-based assignments, because it's really hard to cheat on LearnSmart. I'm talking extremely hard because all the questions come in different orders, and there's so many different questions, and it follows a path for the student based on how they respond. So not all the students get the same questions, and they definitely don't get them in the same order. So it's virtually impossible to cheat on LearnSmart in that regard, and it's very difficult for them to cheat on the application-based assignments. Now, the next and last thing I want to talk about here would be the manager's hot seats, and these in this assignment here. I'll click on that one right here. Let's talk about the cyberloping. Manager's hot seat was a assignment type that was used about, probably 15, 20 years ago with McGraw-Hill, and these were on VHS. So if you've been teaching that long where you've had like VHS and such, these assignments or these videos were on VHS. And what they've done is they've taken these concepts and they've updated them and created new videos that are, more up to date and a little flashier, but they're very good. And so it talks about these key issues in management or marketing or various aspects of business that are hard to, it's hard to discuss these without taking on like a role playing type of example in class, or it's really hard to talk about them online. And so that's why these videos exist, and I really like these. And so this one is called Cyberloafing, basically all the different all the different ways that employees can basically loaf and waste time and resources. So they watch the video, roughly 8 to 10 minutes long, and then the questions that go along with it relate directly to the video, And so on this one, there's about five questions there. And so those are the manager's hot seats, and they cover a variety of topics. They're very good. So if you're looking for a way to talk about like sexual harassment or something like that, this is a good way to throw in a video as a way to do that. Now, those are the major assignment types. There are, some other ones here and there that are relatively minor, but those are the major ones right there. What I normally do is you can see my screen. I've got these set up. They are, grouped by chapter. They all have due dates and such on them. And so students work their way through these before the exam comes. So they're all set, like you can see, like here's chapter 3 and 4, right? These were all due on January 24th. This all occurs prior to the exam starting. I usually do my exams on Friday through Sunday, a 3-day window from online classes. I like to have these students have these done prior to taking the exam. So that's why I set them up the way I do. Something else that I will do, let's say we're a couple days out from the exam, right? A couple days out, it's like Wednesday or something. I will come up here to the performance tab. I'll click on performance. I'll go to my reports. And what I like to do is I like to look at my LearnSmart reports right off the bat. So I'll click on reports, and then I go down to the bottom, and here are the LearnSmart reports. If I click on that, it's going to show me how my class is doing on these. And so I like to go to the most frequently missed questions. You'll see it right here on your screen. This is my favorite one. There's lots of different ways to look at these, but this is my favorite one. I click on most frequently missed questions, and it gives me the real data from my group of students and how they have been scoring on these exams. And normally this pops right up, but I don't know if there's a lot of people on the system here. Let's see. Yeah, it's saying that this is actually pulling the data up, so it's still waiting on that. And normally it's very quick. Within 3 or 4 seconds, it's got it up there. But what it's going to show you is the LearnSmart questions that my class missed the most out of all of them. And so, there's roughly like, 300 or 400 questions per chapter. And it's going to show you that there are certain questions, certain topics that more people missed. And so let me try to reload that, because that should have come up there. Oh, no, I can tell you why. Hold on just a second. I'm in my wrong class. This is my master class that doesn't have anybody in it. This is where I prepare everything, kind of like a sandbox class. Let me go to this one right here. This actually had students in it, and we can actually see the data. So sorry about that. I'll click on performance. We'll go down to reports, view all reports right here at the bottom. I'll then scroll. Yeah, there it is. There you'll see how the class is doing. I'll scroll to the bottom. I click on LearnSmart. Here we go. Now we'll see the most frequently missed question report. There it is. And then this is there we go. This is going to ask me, well, what question, which chapter do you want to look at? Let's look at chapter 10. So chapter 10 here, right here, and I know this is small on your screen because WebEx shrinks things down. I realize that, but it's going to show you the top 10 most frequently missed questions and the number of times they were missed. So 4 times I had students miss the question about Oichi's Theory Z. Oichi's Theory Z on the motivation chapter. And so what I do is I'm like, okay, they're definitely struggling with Oichi's. And look at this, the second highest rating here was Maslow's hierarchy. They don't know the 5 hierarchy of needs, the 5 levels. And so I'm like, how can that be? So what I do is I take that information, I then will go into my class and shoot out like an announcement or an email, or I'll modify something where I will tell the students, listen, I know that some of you are struggling with Oichi's Theory Z and Maslow's hierarchy, and I want to reiterate that this is how it works and blah, 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 right? So what I like to say that we can actually change change the future. We know what our students don't know in advance of them taking the exam. And so therefore we can try to correct it before it happens. We can change the future. It's incredible. And so what I do is, like, I mentioned before, I'll go in here and I'll look at each one of these. Well, let's, we pull up chapter 9. 16 times a question about facility layout was missed. And I know students often, they misunderstand the difference between cellular modular layout and process layout. It happens over and over and over. I've seen it for, 16 years now. And so I know that that's probably their problem. So I see it right here. And then there's number 16, like 16 times again, another question about facility layout was missed. They are having trouble with this. And look at there, 14 times about production process in the materials. So they are really struggling on the setup of the operation at the plant. They don't understand the differences. So that's when I'll fire out an email or announcement or whatever it might be in order to correct that problem. So anybody have any questions on that? Because that's my favorite report, and you can view lots of this information in different ways, but that is the one that I go to, whether it's online or seated. I do it just about every time before I go into class. So any questions on that?
Tim, I'm not seeing any questions coming through on reporting, getting some nice positive feedback that's helpful. And I know we're at time, or at our planned time. So at this point, if there's anything you want to share quickly, that's great. Otherwise, I'll include our contact information so that folks can follow up if they need to. And Tim, if you are talking, I don't hear you on audio right now. No, I can hear you again. So
Yep,
is there anything you wanted to share in conclusion, or are we good? You've covered so much ground, a lot of positive feedback coming in.
Yes. And I just want to say, I know I went through that very quickly. Some of you do have Connect background, so that's why we kind of moved at a little bit quicker rate. I wanted to show you the key activities. This is how I lay out my class, and I think that this will work for you as you're transitioning everything online. If you run into snags or problems, feel free to reach out to me, shoot me an email or whatever. Don't sit there and struggle or spin your wheels or wonder if something might work. Let me know, because I would definitely like to help. So once again, thank you for being here, and I'll turn it back over to Meredith to roll us out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tim. That was wonderful. In the chat, I just included Tim's email address. I also included my own, as well as the link to find your rep if you don't know who that is. So please reach out to us with the questions you have. Like Tim said, don't struggle through it yourself. We're here to help. We know that you're going through a lot right now, and we just want to support you as best we can. So I'll go ahead and conclude the WebEx, but please find us via email, and we'll do everything we can. We're in this together. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.